Welcome to Women in the Arts, the podcast that shines a light on those great women who participated in changing the world through culture.
Sweetheart, let's sit down and talk.
Gender.
Boys can do anything they want.
I'm Judy Chicago, and I'm an artist and a troublemaker.
Feminism.
I was always interested in drawing
art.
We have found the witch!
The witch.
Witches.
A world in which I could wear whatever I want, say whatever I want.
It's important to connect feminist art with fashion.
Mode. Equality.
Women in the Arts.
We are students of the Master's degree of Cultural Project Management, and today Malaurie will talk about fashion in our society.
Hello! So, we have something in common, we all get dressed. That is why today we will talk about fashion designer and not just anyone. Does Mary Quant mean anything to you, girls?
No, I'm sorry.
Not especially, no.
Okay, so let's go back in the 60s. What first comes to your mind?
The 60s?
Yeah.
Rock and roll?
Yeah, the beginning of the punk movement, maybe?
Yeah, of course, this period was a revolutionary. In fact, all areas were experimented: art, science, and sexuality. This time was characterized by great fights for the women's and gay rights and other minorities and for peace, of course. However, it was a dangerous world because we were in the height of the 30 years of post-war economic growth. Indeed, the consumer society took an important place in the world, but at the same time it was the Cold War and the beginning of the Vietnam War. It was the post-war generation, and they wanted to change the conventional codes with new musical tastes. Do you know great rock figure of the 60s?
Oh, The Clash.
Yeah, and from England, for example.
The 60s, I would say the Beatles, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, the Beatles we have, and the Rolling Stone, of course,
Yes.
and the Who from England. The growing notoriety of these artists was used by some of them as a tool for political purposes to share messages, the end of the Vietnam War, and the rejection of capitalism. It was a period where people experimented new fashion trends. In the 60s, Mary Quant launched a fashion revolution amid a rainbow of miniskirts and hot pants. Indeed, she was at the vanguard of the swinging London scene, designing clothes that perfectly embodied the freedom and energy of the time. The swinging 60s or the swinging London is an expression to describe the cultural vitality of London, which became the fashion, pop, and pop culture capital. London symbolizes this cultural revival. Let's talk about the history of the most iconic designer of the 60s, Mary Quant. She was born in the Black Earth district of London in 1934. She is the daughter of Welsh school teachers Jack and Mildred Quant, who are both from mining families. She went to Black Earth High School and then she studied illustration at Goldsmith College, where she met her future business partner and husband, Alexander Plunkengreen, in 1953. A year later, Mary and Alexander met lawyer turned photographer Archie McNear, whose new coffee bar, The Fantasy, became the London centre of young culture, attractive painters, writers, musicians, and photographers. Together, they opened the first bazaar shop on King's Road in 1955. Mary, finding it difficult to purchase the type of garments she wished to sell, and she began to design clothes herself, launching a fashion revolution which was the focus of GC life. Her philosophy was for clothes to be fun, providing freedom, the ability to jump, to run and move, empowered by the constraint of petticoats of the post-war period. At the beginning, her creation were created to allow fashion to be accessible. Her clothes were designed to be comfortable because women were working increasingly. That is why Marie Quant designed the miniskirt, which created a sensation. It was at this time an important symbol of women emancipation. And I will share with you what Jeanne Lister, a conservative at the Victorian and Albert Museum in London, think about the Marie Quant work. You must know that Jeanne worked on the Marie Quant exhibition. She analyzed that Quant's work marked the society in how fashion can reflect social changes and how fashion can provoke them. Her clothes were exhibited in the shop window, and in some cases, people were shocked, and the bazaar shop provoked a buzz, resulting in queues down the street as shoppers jostled to get in and buy. It turns out that my clothes suit exactly with teenage fashion, with pop, espresso, and bars club. Marie Quant said in her first autobiography, published in 1965. She was so successful that she opened a new bazaar in Knightsbridge in 1957. She was famous in Europe and in the USA. And in 1963, she founded Marie Quant's Jingle group and created a wholesale range of garments to retail worldwide, and she was elected Woman of the Year by the Sunday Times International Awards. A year later, Puritan Fashion signed Marie to design dresses, and she won the White House Award also in the USA and branched into paper patterns for Butterick, making her design available to home dressmakers. Marie Quant was interviewed recently, and she confessed that she was nostalgic about London in the 60s with the innovation in the way of fashion. However, she said that it was wonderful at this time and in this society to be a woman. It was very interesting because in her autobiography, she shares a perspective about being a woman in our society. She said that a new species of superwoman has appeared. They evolve like athletes and sit like men with their knees apart. Their children take their mother's name. They have control. What do you think about her opinion?
Oh, I think it's a really interesting opinion. I agree with her. We have a very strong, powerful, superwoman women around us nowadays. Don't you think?
And I think that it may have helped that in a certain way.
Yeah, of course.
She has paved the way for generations of women that have came after her.
And if maybe later in the 70s, then there was the first feminist movement as well. So I think it was some sort of sparkle maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling us more about Marie Quant.
Thank you.
Let's imagine equality through culture together.